Thanks for tuning in to the Real Women Chronicles podcast. I am your international certified life coach, Tiadra Taylor. The sole purpose of this podcast is to get you from where you are now to where you want to be. Yes, it's time to break chains and to get unstuck. Thanks again for joining in. Let's begin. Thank you for joining me yet again another week of the Real Women Chronicles podcast. I go by the name of Coach T, just in case you don't know who I am. I am your virtual life and relationship coach. Now listen, guys, before I dive into this week's podcast topic, I want to just issue a few announcements that I'm super excited about. I've literally been waiting and anticipating recording and posting this week's podcast because I'm super excited, y'all. I will be dropping the Breakup to Breakthrough Interactive Journal April 2nd, 2021. Listen, mark your calendars. And I understand everybody doesn't need this journal. But for those of you out there that are going through a breakup, thinking about going through a breakup, or you know someone who is, this journal was literally made for you. It took me over a year to make this journal. I went through several changes within even my personal life as I'm making this journal. When I say, y'all, this journal is so powerful, and I wanted to create something that was tangible for my listeners, my podcast listeners, my many listeners who DM me about their relationships and how they're, just now listening to the podcast and able to get over that relationship, that toxic relationship, or just the various people that I knew needed this. And listen, everybody can't afford coaching. Maybe there's even some people who don't believe it. They just feel like they can just, research enough podcasts and YouTube tutorials and get over the situation. And that's fine. If that's you, that is fine. But I have now created something that is tangible and affordable, okay, for you who are going through breakups. This journal will have thought-provoking questions that you must answer. It has motivation. It has quotes. I put my heart and soul into this. I'm so passionate about it, right? Because I just know that it's going to help somebody. And I truly wish that when I was going through a breakup, one of my worst breakups in my life years ago, I really wish that I had something like this. So I really just took the time that journal needed and nurtured it, so that when you purchase this journal, you are able to coach yourself into a better place, all by answering the questions, all by thinking new thoughts. It's just, listen, I can go on for 15 minutes, but I won't. So that is one of the announcements, the Breakup to Breakthrough Journal, dropping April 2nd, 2021. Make sure you tune into the podcast. I will definitely leave the link to wherever you can purchase it from. I also plan to have it available on my new podcast website, y'all. That's another announcement that I'm super excited about. I now have a podcast website. So instead of you going to your iTunes store or going to iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, whatever platform, Google Podcasts. I'm on about 8 platforms, this podcast, but instead of going to all of them, you can just go to my website. The website is rwcpodcast.com. Again, that is the rwcpodcast.com. I will also leave the link to my website in your bio. This website will pretty much house all of the podcast episodes. It also has a section where you can contact me if you want to contact me for any guest appearances. If you have any questions or requests, there's a section for that. There also will be a section added once the book is released for the sale of merchandise and this journal will actually be one of them. And of course, there's a Coach with Me tab. So those of you who have been looking for coaching, now you can just go on my website, click the tab, submit your information, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Y'all, we are doing big things with this podcast this year. And this is only the beginning, so I'm excited. Be on the lookout for Breakup to Breakthrough Journal and definitely start utilizing my website, okay? Now, that out the way now, we can go ahead and jump into this week's podcast, and I've entitled this podcast, Sex Too Soon. Sex Too Soon. Now, listen, before I dive into this topic, let me be clear. This is completely and utterly a judgment-free zone, okay? Mainly because we've all made mistakes and fell short of the God's glory, and none of us are perfect. So when I go and dive into this topic, I don't want you guys to feel as though I'm speaking from a platform where I've even been perfect. Many of you guys know my story, but if you don't, you can read a little bit about it on my new website. But hey, I had 2 kids out of wedlock. So listen, judgment-free zone here on this podcast. Now, that being said, let's address the topic of having sexual intimacy too soon. Okay, first let me explain the spiritual aspect of this. There are things that transpire when us women lay down with a man or a woman, depending on your preference, okay? There is a spiritual transfer that takes place. And during this spiritual transfer, men often release power and women open the floodgate of their emotions. So intercourse is so much more than the feel-good sensation. There's so much more happening behind the scenes. It is literally an entire transfer of one's energy. So whenever you consider laying down with someone, okay, because you're in the heat of the moment or they look good, consider the fact that whatever type of energy he or she is carrying, that energy or spiritual bond is coming inside of you. And this goes from a man and a woman. If you're not careful, this bond, okay, that is released during this intercourse can turn into a soul tie with an individual whom you've yet to even get to know. A soul tie that keeps you coming back, right, to this unhealthy relationship. A soul tie that keeps you yearning for a person who is not giving you that same love and affection back. And see, this is why sex too soon is detrimental to us, because there's so much that goes on when we have this intercourse. And it opens a floodgate. See, the critical issue with spiritual transfers is we really don't know what that person that you're laying down with, especially a person that you're laying down with too soon, is carrying. They could be carrying the spirit of depression, the spirit of low self-esteem, jealousy, anger, wickedness. I mean, the list goes on. But see, you're just meeting the person. So you haven't had time to uncover all of these things about the person. And you think that their issues are just their issues. But no, their issues become your issues once you lay down and you give yourself and you open your mind, body, and soul up to this person. See, here's the thing. What if that individual whom you laid down with leaves you with demonic ties that you will have to fight against long after they're gone? It's not just about the heat of the moment. What demonic ties are they leaving behind? Because Because you may have slept with that person on January of 2020, and here it is over a year later, and you're still battling those spirits that person left behind. See, sleeping with someone is so much deeper than what we think, and I can't stress that enough. I really, truly can't. This is the most important part that I wanted to stress. But I also want to talk about, now that we've discussed the spiritual entanglement that goes on and that spiritual transfer, let's discuss some issues related to it in the natural realm. Okay? Now, first and foremost, as you guys all know, some people come into your life and they wear a mask. Okay? They wear a mask. And they wear this mask so that they can mask their true intentions. And this is why you'll meet people sometimes, and very early in the relationship, they begin to love bomb you. Narcissists are known for this. They begin to love bomb you. They want to swipe you off your feet, sweep you off of your feet fast enough before you even get to realize who they truly are. And they come wearing this mask, right? They tell you everything you want to hear. I mean, everything. They make you feel like the most desirable person, that they see all these big things in you guys' future. But here's the thing about giving in too soon. It's because sometimes, not all the time, guys, but sometimes that person's sole intention is to sleep with you. That person's sole intention is not to have a serious relationship with you. They actually want to just conquer you. And see, this is the thing about people who come with one intention, right? They do all these tricks and flips and entertainment to woo you. But once they actually get that one thing that they've come to get from you, all of that really goes away fairly quickly. Because there's no more motivation to do it. The motivation was the fact that they wanted to sleep with you. So when we flip from the spiritual side and we go on to the natural side, that is something that you want to think about. That unfortunately everybody doesn't have great intentions. And this is another thing that I want you guys to take heed of. Now, you guys know I previously stated that the woman is often open emotionally when she lays down with a man. But listen, a man is often not open that way. That is why it is literally like playing with your heartstrings whenever you sleep with a person, sleep with a man. You can form an immediate connection to that person who has absolutely no attachment or connection to you. And the reason why women are more prone to forming this emotional connection, when we talk about the chemical makeup of a woman, there is a chemical change that goes on in a woman's body when she makes love. Our bodies release a hormone called oxytocin. Okay? This hormone, oxytocin, is also referred to as the love hormone. And this hormone is linked to that warm, fuzzy feeling that we feel, when we're having this emotional response. It's also gives us the power to regulate our social behaviors, including things like trust, empathy, the processing of our bonding cues, even positive communication. This is how powerful this hormone operates in a woman's body. Now, let me explain why this hormone is so interconnected with a woman's attachment to a man when she sleeps with him. This same love hormone that is released when you make love, you or I, okay, make love to a man, is the same exact hormone that is released when a woman gives birth. It is oxytocin that triggers the bond between a mother and her child. I'm not sure if you guys heard me, so let me just repeat this so that this can seep in. Because I want you to understand how powerful sex is. a woman releases a hormone, the same hormone that rushes in during labor, okay? The same hormone that triggers